Hi and welcome back. My name is Karen Field Bolek, and this is lesson number 13 in my course, A Spiritual Path to True Love. This lesson is about the nature of attractiveness and attraction. In the last lesson, I talked about a spiritual approach to becoming more attractive from the inside out, whether you're in a relationship or not. In this lesson, I want to start by speaking to the many ways that outer physical attractiveness affects us for better and for worse. After that, I'll discuss specific attractions to potential partners, the root cause of these attractions, and how best to respond to them for the purposes of your spiritual growth and long-term happiness. If advertising teaches us anything, it teaches us that a whole lot of people in this world spend a whole lot of time and money trying to be physically attractive. You might wonder, though, is outer beauty really a good thing to cultivate, spiritually speaking? I believe it can be because there's joy in beauty of any type. Yet the way we look at beauty, however it's defined, mostly depends on the spirit that drives our attitudes. Religiously devout people from various world religions, including today's Amish, many Roman Catholic nuns and clergy, monks of various religions, and historically Quakers of a couple of centuries ago, have or had a rule of dressing in plain clothing, with the women forbidden to wear makeup or decorative jewelry. Additionally, most Muslim men and women around the world follow the teachings of the Quran to dress modestly and keep themselves covered. To some of these religious leaders and followers, personal adornments or revealing fashions are considered impious. On the positive side, their rules encourage their members to focus inward, to make a connection with God, spirit, the heart, or the higher self, or to obey the teachings of their religious text. On the negative side, some very religious people become quite judgmental of religious outsiders who prefer to enjoy and openly celebrate their physical and sexual attractiveness through fashion, makeup, or tattoos. Another group that at times has been critical of makeup and traditionally feminine clothing is Western feminists, especially during the 20th century. Their objection to traditionally feminine grooming was based on their perception that women are thereby playing into men's social dominance. Also, they sometimes claimed that makeup hides a woman's authentic self and perhaps signals a lack of self-esteem. On the positive side, these feminists have helped many women discover their masculine side and feel empowered to live through it, whether at the workplace or elsewhere. On the negative side, they may be playing amateur psychologist to other women they don't fully understand. Some women love to dress up, and they view traditional feminine beauty, gender roles, styles, and power dynamics as separate issues, especially if they know how to get what they want within their feminine roles and appearances. Not all women in any given historical period want the same things. For women to be liberated, we all need to make our own choices based on how we feel about the way we present ourselves, whether it's having fun with different styles and makeup or covering ourselves, if that feels right. The act of dressing in an authentic way is different for each of us, male, female, or other. And our free will gives us the right to switch our styles whenever we want to, within the limits of our culture. Finally, there's an ongoing social debate about the value of appearances that often becomes relevant to some of the more thoughtful preteens and teenagers of each new generation. The question is whether looks are just superficial and should be disregarded, or whether looks mean something about the person's inner qualities. The term superficial is often used in a demeaning way. While some kids become overly invested in outer beauty, underestimating the importance of other inner aspects of growth, we all live and learn. Over time, most people grow to gain a more balanced perspective. Each culture has its standards of beauty, but to some extent, we're all free to adopt, reject, or try to influence our cultural norms. As to the question of whether outer appearance means something about the person inwardly, the ancient art of face reading is a field of study that historically has had many followers, especially in Asia. Although face reading has been disregarded by most modern thinkers in the West, partly because presumably it has not been validated by scientific research, and partly because it seems perilously close to prejudice based on appearances. Face reading continues to draw some interest worldwide. I believe it's simply because, right or wrong, most people privately infer meaning from outward appearances. In Western cultures, if we look again at advertising, we can see how badly most people want to look good. Some say it's because we value superficiality, but for the most part, I think it's just the opposite. We wouldn't value beauty or handsomeness or feel repelled by ugliness if we didn't innately believe outer appearances mean something deeper. And when we call a situation like a threatening, chaotic traffic jam an ugly traffic jam, we all know it means something bad, not something good. Think of a children's cartoon. Small children could not make sense of a good character that actually looks ugly on screen, since they innately understand that beauty implies goodness and ugliness implies badness. Further, if you think about flowers, which we love for their surface beauty, isn't it interesting that human cultures have ascribed symbolic meanings to different types and colors of flowers? The human hunger for meaning causes us, I believe, to either intuit or ascribe meaning to outward appearances. So, to determine whether physical beauty is a good thing to cultivate, or a bad one, spiritually speaking, I have to look at the spirit attached to a person's attitudes. The pursuit of physical beauty or the rejection of it are both okay, since they're personal choices based on free will. But the issue is whether the spirit behind your choices and the spirit in which you take stock of other people's outer appearance and style choices is joyful and generous, or suspicious and stingy. Working to be attractive, whether it's through cleanliness and health or hot clothing and accessories, can be done in the spirit of self-respect, self-love, and a joyful celebration of earthly life. Dressing up can be playful, as you see with small children who play dress up, or teens dressing up for prom. People who condemn focusing on outer appearances as trivial, immoral, vain, or inauthentic are passing negative judgments on others. And spiritually speaking, passing judgment on others is unloving. From a spiritual standpoint, what matters most is not the way you dress up or dress down. With the spirit of self-love, or even love and appreciation for the fabrics you wear, you can love your outer appearance through any style choice. However, if your spirit is ungenerous, you can spend your day critiquing yourself to death every time you see a reflection in the mirror. Or you can look for everyone else's wardrobe and makeup flaws all day long. Along those lines, you can fabricate stories about other people's supposed dark motives for their appearances and their fashion choices. You can tell yourself that the well-dressed people around you are vain and phony, and so you're morally superior. You can believe that the plainly dressed people around you are unsophisticated and therefore beneath you. But the problem is that either way, your spirit is going to suffer. You'll end each day feeling dispirited, resentful, mean-spirited, arrogant, or delusional. To be a loving person, it's much better to be generous of spirit towards people's outward appearances, including your own, and to just assume that everyone's trying their best. It's also good to enjoy whatever bits of beauty or attractiveness you see anywhere you look. Turn your "wow, those jeans don't fit her right" into, well, that's a good color for her. If you spend your time dressing up every day with the aim of besting others, you're operating on a competitive spirit that attempts to elevate your value while diminishing the value of others. This is clearly unloving. Overall, if fixing yourself up lifts your spirits without the intent to demean others, then it's spiritually elevating and can inspire others to be more adventurous and fun-loving with their appearance too. Conversely, if you don't feel good about your appearance or don't care about being fashionable, it's a good idea to love and appreciate yourself in other ways. There are plenty of wholesome ways to lift your spirits. But now let's step back from worrying about the ethics of aesthetics, because there's a big difference between trying to be in the world and trying to attract the right partner for you. Everybody knows that it isn't always the most perfect looking people that end up in strong, lasting love relationships. Plenty of gorgeous celebrities have been through ugly divorces. So let's talk about how to attract the person or type of person who's right for you. The main thing to remember is to present yourself outwardly as you really are, to the best of your ability, instead of trying to look like someone you're not. If you enjoy styling, do more of that. If you feel comfortable in thermals, wear that. To the outside world, you could resemble a deer, a walrus, a chipmunk, a giraffe, or an exotic bird. Regardless of how the outside world sees you, the person who's just right for you will find your unique appearance to be attractive, or at least interesting. In wondering who you really are, this person will look deeply right past your outer appearance to discern your essence. By presenting yourself as you really are, as much as you can, you make their job a little easier. Author and dating coach Ken Page, in his book Deeper Dating, talks about two types of attraction, one based on deprivation, the other based on inspiration. I think his analysis is profound. And whether you're dating or long married, I highly recommend reading his book to better understand your love life, present and past. In my experience, an attraction based on deprivation is what happens when you get a crush and you feel that the person is too good for you, but you hope that you're wrong. It could also be an unlikely character who shows interest in you out of the blue, and you wonder what they see in you. You may start out feeling flattered at receiving this person's attention, but probably also insecure. Spoiler alert, this relationship won't work because your hope of being loved by such a person is based on the false premise that you're not already good enough. This person may have good qualities, but maybe not as many as you assume. More importantly, you're looking for love from someone who, for whatever reason, doesn't really perceive your profound goodness, and therefore will offer you more corrective growth opportunities in the end than you probably want. By contrast, when you experience an attraction based on inspiration, the profound goodness you perceive in that person inspires you to be your best as well. If this person brings out talents or other good qualities within you that you didn't even realize that you possessed, it's because he or she perceives your profound goodness too. Even if you still have insecurities to work through, you will experience a great deal of expansive growth in this type of relationship. In my opinion, all love attractions, whether healthy or unhealthy, have a single root cause, and that is the never-ending desire within you to become more of who you really are deep within, to emerge, to blossom into yet another higher version of yourself through a relationship with someone who loves and treasures that deep goodness within you, someone who is also unfolding in the same wonderful way. Unfortunately, sometimes people need to discover more about their goodness by finding out what love is not. In that case, you feel the heat, or in other words, you get burned in such a relationship until you eventually leave, finally knowing that you deserve better. That could be a case where you think your hot-looking partner sees you as hot stuff, only to gradually realize that he or she thinks you look like a fool, and the person enjoys the control that your foolishness affords him or her. But spiritually, all's well, because a corrective growth opportunity, however painful, can ultimately jolt you forward in positive self-knowledge, knowing what you do deserve, in a way that kind compliments, however true they might be, could not. Afterwards, if you love yourself enough to try to avoid the pain of being played for a fool again, you'll start to realize that you do deserve more kind compliments. Once you know that, you'll become attracted to nicer people. At that point, you may be able to discover more about your goodness by finding friends and lovers who clearly see, at least sense, your profound goodness. They can help you experience expansive growth by witnessing more of the good things you are, helping you see the light within yourself. Receiving the attention and admiration of a lover of this type can motivate you to take risks. The risks involved in unfurling more of your true self, the part of you that's been waiting inside to come alive. It could be that you decide to get a makeover and try a new updated look, not to give away your power, but to express more lighthearted or beautiful aspects of your essence through your new style choices. Or this person's love might motivate you to blossom in different ways completely unrelated to your appearance. So the final question for now is this. From a spiritual standpoint, when you feel a new attraction, what's the best way to proceed? Ken Page recommends that you learn to distinguish between attractions of deprivation and attractions of inspiration, and then respond only to the attractions of inspiration. His book offers the details of how to do this, and his suggestions and exercises are very much aligned with spiritual growth. From my experience years ago, when you first feel an attraction, whether it makes you feel good or just curious or even insecure, you should begin by slowly and cautiously moving towards the person through a face-to-face observation and in-person conversations. Yet just close enough until you can get a clearer sense of what he or she honestly thinks of you. If the person's opinion of you seems good, there's no need to hurry into a full relationship, since anyone who admires you enough will continue to be curious and interested in you next week and the week after. See if the degree of interest and respect you desire at a conversational level continues. If the person turns from charming to self-centered, demanding, attempting to rush, control, manipulate, or in some way use you, and if the person begins experimenting to see how little he or she can give you and still keep you feeling needy and inferior, then step back. Get a good look at the games, accusations, or insults designed to hook you back in. And ask yourself whether you actually admire this behavior, or whether you want to even hang around for more of it. Despite whatever goodies or promises are tossed your way as enticements, keep watching those games. And if they continue, just think to yourself, no thanks, that's not for me, and end the relationship. In my personal experience years ago, this strategy allowed me to build self-confidence, and my attraction of deprivation basically stopped happening. This left space for more inspirational attractions to show up in my life. Alternatively, you may find yourself attracted to people who treat you more like a friend than a love interest. If your partner seems lukewarm and you begin to feel like a placeholder partner until he or she finds someone better, then take note of how that feels. How does it feel to be treated that way? Observe any sense of indifference, boredom, or effort your partner has to make in order to pay attention to you. Observe how it seems forced or whether it seems natural. This person might be a very nice person, but again, ask yourself if this feels like the true love you've been looking for. Then, instead of blaming yourself for being inadequate or uninspiring to your partner, ask yourself whether this person is even capable of providing you with the level of happiness you want in a relationship, since he or she hasn't done it so far. Then say goodbye, let the person go, and find themselves a new placeholder as you refocus on your own profound goodness. This opens up space for you to attract someone who sees you closer to the way you see yourself. Finally, in dealing with mixed attractions, partly inspirational, but with some feelings of deprivation, I believe it's good to continue using any insecurities you feel through the relationship to propel your own growth as much as possible. And try to avoid blaming your partner for bringing things up that you need to look at. By taking responsibility for your own personal and spiritual growth, checking yourself, reflecting on your mistakes, and making better choices, you will set your partner free of repeatedly having to call you out or deal with your resistance. Without a doubt, your partner will appreciate you more for it. Also, if your partner truly loves you, then he or she will adjust to you as you continue to grow and will feel happy to see more and more of the real you emerging over time. So today we've talked about the spirit behind our views of attractiveness in the world, about two different types of attraction, and about how to handle your present and future attractions so as to begin to weed out the hurtful ones. Also, we talked about how all attractions, the hurtful and the wonderful, can lead you to a greater sense of your own goodness. And finally, we talked about one of the biggest demons that lurks within the world of attractions, feeling inadequate, and how to shrink that demon down until it disappears. In the next upcoming lesson, I'll be talking about a spiritual way to deal with other attraction-related demons, including the green-eyed monster of jealousy. Until then, I've listed some resources below that can help you further explore today's lesson if you'd like. I hope you'll join me again next time. Bye-bye for now.